Hello everyone, my name is Bridget and today we're going to be talking about spiritual awakening and 2 paths that can accelerate your ascension. So my goal by the end of this video is for you to realize that whatever your current life situation and circumstances are, they're actually absolutely assisting your awakening. So I'm going to share how that is happening and where you're at on your own journey to help you along that path. Now, be sure to listen to the whole video so that you get the full download and transmission of where you're at or maybe where you want to go. So the idea is that your higher self has it all planned. There's a higher purpose going on. And sometimes it maybe doesn't feel like that with certain things that come up or like things in life. And you're like, what the heck? Why is this happening? Or different situations going on. But actually there is purpose to it. And so I wanted to share 2 scenarios, 2 ways, 2 paths that the higher self helps us to awaken. Even though it might not seem like it on the outside, it really is long term and in the big picture. And so when we can become conscious of these 2 paths, these 2 scenarios, and play with the 2 of them, then it's so much more rewarding and rich to receive the gifts of our current situation, our current energy and vibrations and things going on in our life, so that we can see how it's actually helping our awakening. Because I think sometimes on the spiritual path, it's like, gosh, can't I be in 5D yet in my eco dome and with all these awesome people around and like floating spaceships? It's like, no, because that actually wouldn't maybe help you right now where you're at. And so we have to trust that process, and these tools, these insights that I got will help you do that. So there's 2 different scenarios that the higher self sets up. We're going to go through 2. One is the scenario of contrast. I'm sure that you've experienced this. This is when your whole external reality in life is in complete contrast with the actual vibration and energy that you prefer, that you choose to be in. So this could be that the external circumstances, like a crappy job, a crappy culture, relationship, stuff going on, all these like issues, all these things going on in your external reality. But this scenario of contrast is extremely helpful. It creates the pressure. It creates the sometimes rock bottom, the dark night of the soul, that actually plunges us into ourself, into our core being. And then in that space, we can actually realize that it's truly only us that is creating our light, our energy, that then creates the new external reflected reality. And so what this does is it actually helps us more than anything, because we're not actually seeing or seeking from the outside, say, higher vibrations or our awakening. Our awakening is coming from within because there's nowhere else to look. There's nowhere else to turn. And sometimes that sucks, and I understand that, but it can be extremely helpful. And for me, growing up, the culture that I was raised in, definitely asleep, highly muggleized, and a lot of density. And so for me, I had to go within much more, and that creates this resilience that can't come really any other way than by this trial. And so it's a part of our initiation. Even though it seems maybe mundane and not spiritual at all, it absolutely is. And so I experienced this growing up in my life, and then also being in the big city of Los Angeles. There's a lot of those contrasting energies that absolutely built my muscle of breaking and ripping and tearing me to create a stronger version. Now, the second scenario that your higher self can set up for you, which is nice, has its own, shadow side, but it's extremely nice, is the scenario of modeling. So this is where your higher self sets you up in this wonderful situation where actually your external reality is everything higher vibration. Everything is reflecting the higher nature of existence, really. And so this can be seen in lots of different ways depending on your own constitution and soul energy, but this can look like oftentimes like lots of nature, high vibrational people, high vibrational places, like everything around you is actually saying, hey, like, this is who you could be. And I definitely experienced this when I was living in Los Angeles, because everyone around me was drinking green juices and going to yoga and like sitting on the beach and meditating and walking through the, on hikes in nature. And so there was a lot within that culture, even though there's density to it within the city, that was saying, hey, like, it actually being a part of that energy field was uplifting, and it actually pushed me to the next level of my own vibration. And so this is a really supportive and awesome thing that maybe your higher self setting up for you, or when you become conscious of these scenarios, you can set up for yourself, this is what it's all about. It's becoming one with your higher self, so that you understand, you're like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. And you can consciously play and weave with it and be like, hey, what if we do some of this? And it's like, yeah, let's set up this scenario. So this modeling scenario can show you who you want to be, like the vibration maybe that you're not quite at yet, but you're reaching towards, and it can pull you up towards that frequency. And so it's a very, very helpful scenario. It has its own challenges, because one, you might think after some time that it's actually not you doing it. It's like, well, if I left, say, it's the Sedona vortex and all the people I'm around, would I actually be that? Like, is it actually coming from me, or is it coming from outside? Or this energy is higher than me. And so there's some things and beliefs that come up along that scenario path that are challenging in and of itself. Or if you don't want to let go of the resistances or the lower density energies that are holding you back from that higher vibration, that can be challenging too. And a lot of people have that experience 100% in sacred sites when they're living there. It's like they're living in paradise in Maui or something, but it's bringing up all their stuff and they're not ready to let go of it. And so then they get spit out or stuff happens. And so that's where this weaving back and forth between contrast and between the higher vibrational modeling and these two paths can be very, very helpful. And so it's not just like one is the ultimate. I think sometimes in the spiritual community we're like, yes, if I could just be in 5D in my floating eco spaceship with all these like-minded people sipping on coconuts or maybe just prana from Sirius, then I could be happy. It's like, not really. We're not here just for that. We're here for this soul development. We're here to get stretched. We're here to have pressure. We're also here to experience bliss and light. And all of it has validity. And so seeing where you are at on these two scenario paths can be very, very helpful to validate it, to be like, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, I see the gifts that it's giving me and how much it's developing me. And this was actually started to happen very consciously to me in my last years in Los Angeles, because I became aware of what my higher self was doing. It's like, you need to play out all these lower energy, lower chakra desires. Please go play that out. And I'm like, okay. And I like consciously pursued it. And because I did that, I did it much faster. I have a whole video about this on, it's part of the Leaving the Matrix series and Are You Really Ready to Leave? So there's that piece to it too. And then there was the piece as well, when I think I've mentioned it before, I was having tea with my friend Coop Blackson, and he was like, I was like, I'm ready to leave LA. I'm ready for a sacred site, like to live this higher conscious life. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, I'm not. And he was like, you need to stay here. You're not finished with this pressurized scenario, with this contrast. And it was in that last year or so after that conversation that I was stripped of like my ego identity. Like literally, I would just like roam the streets. Like I just lost everything that I thought that I was. And if you see my earlier videos, I just became this like ragamuffin, like hippie, because I just honestly, I lost that identity. And it was so wonderful to die to that old self so that I could be rebuilt in a way that was more authentic to me. And now I like the expressions of beauty, but I don't have to have it, and I don't have to be identified with it to be happy, right? It's this idea of not needing the external reality or not needing me to even be something to be in that space of absolute unconditional love with myself and to be in true communion with light, which is awakening. So play with these. If you're having the experience where you're having a little bit of mundane energy, say in the contrast, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need that fix of that higher vibration. That's why I create things like retreats, to create high vibrational, incubated, energetic spaces for people to come, where it's high vibrational sacred location, incredible high vibrational food, company, activities, nature, all of these things that will take your vibration to the next level. So you might need the other scenario and consciously put that in, create that for yourself. Or if you've been in Eden of Maui for too long, you might need to go into a city or go back to home and like look at some of the things that are going to create a little bit of pressure to clear things out and to actually lift you up to the next state of your vibration. So it's very exciting. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this was helpful. Please comment below and let me know which scenario that you're in. What are you experiencing right now? What are you wanting to experience? What are you gaining from wherever you're at? The more that we validate where we're at, the more you can actually move out of it. Sometimes, literally, the higher self is like, and once they can actually see that this was a gift and acknowledge it, then they can move on. It's literally, you're at the end of that level, right, of the game. And it's like, okay, can they see what happened here and acknowledge it? Okay, once they can, move on, level 2. They're like ready, you're ready for the next one. So sometimes it's just being present to it and validating it that makes it all okay for you to move on to the next stage. So comment below. Please hit the like button if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to hit that bell button. It's all about that bell button. Hit the bell button so you get notifications every time I do new videos. And I will be back next week with another video.